Hi there, thank you for joining us on this beautiful afternoon, sunny afternoon. And here we've got Koralee with Organized Inspiration. How do you do today?
Good morning, Fatima.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm good, thanks.
So we're going to get right into it. Tell us what you do.
I am a professional organizer. So I help busy families and professionals organize their space at homes to create more peaceful, zenful, organized spaces.
Perfect. So how did you get into something so exciting?
I've always been interested in the topic of organization and productivity, and always had my hand into helping friends and family reorganize their closets, reorganize their rooms, rearrange their furniture and everything else. But I really just did it as a hobby to start. But I just loved how it affected people's energy and mood and really the overall feel of the space. So it's just until recently I decided to make it more of a focus and to really start helping more families benefit from organized spaces.
Cool. So what's one of your favorite spaces that you've transformed?
Probably a family room or a playroom for
Why
kids.
is that?
Well, because family rooms or playrooms are a big central area in people's homes. So by transforming it and making it more organized and efficient space for everybody, the whole family is more at peace, from kids all the way up to the parents and people visiting. And when everybody's at peace and knows where things go, it just takes so much stress away from the families in general. So
Perfect.
yeah.
Do you work with feng shui specialists to help you come up with your vision, or how do you come up with your vision?
I work directly with the clients. Everybody is so different and has their own perspective in regards to what organization means to them. So it's not just a single paintbrush that I can say this is what's going to work. I'm not a feng shui specialist at all. So when that is required, I would bring in a specialist to help in that regard. But really it comes down to the client and assessing how they utilize the space currently, what their overall vision is for the space, and how they want it to function. And sometimes just through having that initial conversation with people is interesting, because an office, for example, in somebody's space could be reutilized as a playroom or a guest room, or vice versa, right? And it can change over time as well. So as a family evolves with younger kids, and they get older, or sometimes you have family members move in with you, you have to be a little bit of be flexible, right? And just really be open-minded with how to use space in maybe different ways that you wouldn't have thought of otherwise.
Excellent. Perfect.
Yeah.
So then now you were saying that you sort of work with people. So now do you actually work with their emotions, or do you just work on the surface area?
Emotions definitely comes into play for sure. I am not a psychologist at all, but I do recognize the importance of being very, very aware with people's emotions and their state really when it comes to their personal things. And again, everybody is different, so you have to keep that in mind, right? What you and me may see as something that could be trivial or disposable could mean the life to somebody else. So going into a space and dealing with people, you really have to have that in mind and make no assumptions at all.
Okay. Have you ever come across someone where it was really tough for them to part with something?
Absolutely.
And how would you come across it?
Absolutely.
How would you deal with it?
Well, again, everybody is really different, so you have to kind of source through the history of that item, or it could be multiple items, and kind of work backwards and really go back and refer to that initial plan that we put in place that identifies a vision for that room or space, whatever we're working on at the time. Because sometimes it just takes a little, not pushing, but sometimes people just need to have that third party come in to just get things off of their chest. And once they tell you the story, or they relate back to whatever is holding them back, sometimes you see that transformation right in front of you happen, where they're going, oh yeah, you know what? I can release this, or I'm not using it anymore. Why don't I donate it to a cause or a family that could use this right now? So there's a lot of different avenues that you can look at to help through the process. Some happens relatively quickly, and some don't, or don't happen at all. So So
Again,
we treat each one a little bit differently.
okay. Have you had an experience where, you know, like there was some trauma attached to a certain item and you had to help your clients part with it?
When it comes down to like trauma and that kind of things, it's a really touchy area. So in those cases, if we do come across something like that as really holding them back, we usually defer and we'll wait and we'll come back to that, right? So we'll do a workaround, because really the ultimate goal is to get them to a place where they feel comfortable in that room or that area or wherever we're working on at that time. And if that is holding them back to move forward, then we'll just leave that for the time and then focus on something different. Yeah, baby steps. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like I can sort of relate to that because I actually had a house fire about 3 years ago where I lost everything and I had to actually go through and sort, you know, all my stuff, and it was very tough.
It's horrible. Yeah.
But I mean, after I realized, yeah, it's stuff.
Yeah.
To everyone, you know, it's stuff, but there's a lot of emotional attachment to it.
Yeah.
And it can get very tiresome and very emotional at the same time.
Yeah. It's exhausting.
It
can
is.
get really exhausting.
Yeah.
And not all things, you know, that you have that emotional attachment to isn't all negative, right? It could be positive with memories of certain things, like kids' artwork, for example.
Yeah.
Right? Or little trinkets from traveling around the world, or, you know, we used to collect matchboxes, right?
That's an unusual one.
Well, it's hard to get matchboxes now, but, or spoons, right? When people travel around the world, they'll have like 50, 60, or hundreds of these little spoons. So, you know, it can become a bit obsessive, but each one you can tie back to a positive or a negative memory. So it just comes back again to going back to that initial plan that we put together and just reassessing where you are today and where you want to be. Right.
So now, having said that, you know, like people collect all these little trinkets and all that. Do you have a suggestion that, you know, maybe turning it into digital photography?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And everybody has a different what's the word? Take, I guess, on digital. Not everybody wants to do that or is quite there, but absolutely, that is something that we recommend or is part of the conversation for sure.
Well, and I mean, going back to my experience, I wish I had put everything on digital because we actually lost all our pictures.
It's so
and so,
sad.
I mean, that, like, out of everything that we went through, like, having to lose our memories like that, yes, they're ingrained in our minds, but when you actually have that reminder, it's like you're brought back to that time.
Yeah.
So I wish I had actually taken the time to put everything onto digital. I know, like, for myself, like with like some clothing and whatever, like I've worn it a lot, but it's like one of my favorite pieces. I've actually put it on digital and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this.
Yeah, see, that is so cool.
And then I donate the piece.
Yeah, it is so cool because if you're not wearing it anymore, I mean, there's so much need out there.
Yeah.
And if you're not finding it's giving you, well, joy is kind of like a tagline right now, but joy, or if it doesn't fit you anymore, whatever, you can just release that, right? And say, thank you for giving me the joy that you have, and then I'm going to donate you to a better cause or where somebody can actually benefit from its use.
So is there a rule that says, okay, I need to have something in my closet for X amount of time or in my house before you actually part with it?
No, it's so different. I mean, there's different strategies for sure. And then that is something that I work with people to figure out, because everybody is different in that regards. Some people are way more visual than others, so they like to have their stuff more open and exposed, and they're motivated by that. Whereas other people, they don't want to see anything but you open that closet door and whoa, right? it's like holy, but you would never know from just stepping into the house, right? That they are a cluttered person or disorganized. So it really comes down to having that initial assessment and that consultation, having like just a discussion like we're having right now, and then putting together a plan together that works for you, right? So I don't have a plan that says, you know, do this and then do this in 10 days or do this in 30 days, because that would be really naive of me, right? And ignorant of me too, to think that everybody can follow this, because we're all so different. And it goes back to those emotions again and how we function on a day-to-day basis, right? So I can't assume that what you do every morning and how your place is set up could work for me. it just, I mean, maybe some stuff can,
Yeah.
right, and overlaps, but when you're looking at a whole solution, you just can't assume that.
So now, having said that, do you have tips that could sort of help everyone, irrespective of
Yeah.
where they are?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I know, I mean, some people, again, it's perception.
Mhm.
So if you look at one place, you may think that, oh my goodness, that is so disorganized. But to the person living there, like, what do you mean? This is not bad or whatever. But if you are looking to declutter and simplify your space, the best places to start is where you would get the biggest impact on a day-to-day basis. So for a lot of people, that would be your kitchen or family room or the master bedroom, right? So just pick one place and then break it down into sizable chunks that you can just start. So for example, you can just start, if we're saying the kitchen, start in one cupboard, right? And deal with your coffee mugs and cups. So take everything out, put them on the counter, and put aside anything that is cracked, that is chipped, broken, aged, you don't use anymore, and put that into a box, and then put everything back. And just start in manageable chunks. And make sure that you track everything too. So I've been saying, an organizational plan throughout our talk here. And that's really important too.
Mm-hmm.
So before you even start in a room, just write down what your vision is for your space, regardless of what room that may be.
Yeah.
And then you can utilize tools online such as Pinterest and of course Google and stuff like that. But Pinterest is amazing for getting ideas and visual ideas of what spaces could look like or what tools are out there. Right?
So do you use any other social platforms? You're saying that you use Pinterest.
Yeah, Pinterest is amazing for that. And I actually do that through the planning process with my clients as well. So I will create a separate board for them, a private board, and we will work together. So I'll have them spend a little bit of time going through Pinterest and saving stuff, either off of my Pinterest page onto their board, or just if they're on it and see something that I don't have on my own board, because then that way it's so easy for us to use that as kind of a foundation of where the client wants to go and kind of work backwards from that.
Have you heard of House?
Yes.
That's another platform which is commonly used amongst interior designers, anyone in the industry of like rebuild. Do you use that for your clients as well?
I refer to it, but I'm not directly involved with that.
Okay. Why not?
That's a good question. It's just one of the things on my to-do list, I guess, to go to, because there's a few platforms, like House is one, and there's a Realtor one is another that, just through research and stuff like that, I've stumbled upon and bookmarked, and it's just like, okay, I got to get to that. But there's Pinterest, there's Instagram, there's Facebook, right? You can just drown yourself in all these social media platforms. So you need to, prioritize a little bit.
That's my spiel.
That's my spiel. There you go. It's a good segue then, maybe.
So then, so having said that, what's your ideal demographics, your ideal target market?
Well, for sure it is busy families and professionals who want to really streamline their life at home to allow them to have more time to do the things that they love and want to do. They don't feel like a prisoner in their own home, really. We're all so busy and we have so many pulls on the demands for our time and resources and everything else. So I just feel very, very passionately about helping people to find that zenfulness when they do come home, so that you can, get to your basketball games or, actually have time to make dinner and enjoy it instead of rushing around and trying to figure out what we're having for dinner.
The question of everyone's life: what's for dinner today?
Sure. And how stressful is that when you get home from a busy day and you're looking in your fridge going, oh, like everything is everywhere, right? And not saying that there's a magic wand that takes away all the stress. There's just not. But there is systems that you can put into place to make it better, right? And I just love helping people find that component for their lives, just to help, right? De-stress our lives, because
there's so much going on.
There's so much going on.
Yeah, we need ways to de-stress.
Yeah, for sure.
And so now, having said that, like you would probably want to be on LinkedIn because you've got a lot of the professionals. Facebook, because they're obviously an older generation. You don't want your teen bombers or any of that stuff, right?
Right.
And then of course you want Instagram because it's very like picture based, and Pinterest is a really good place for
I'm
you to
in
be on.
love with Pinterest.
Yeah.
I really, really am.
It's also very addictive.
It is really addictive. Instagram, I don't quite yet.
It's actually it's very fun. Once you get the hang of it, it's very fun and it's easy to use. And it's actually really good for the target market. And then there's also House, as I mentioned earlier. But then, like you said, you don't want to be on too many platforms just because you're going to be all over the place.
Yeah.
And then you're not cluttering or decentralizing. You're adding more stuff to yourself.
Exactly.
So you want to pick the top few platforms, no more than 4 platforms.
Yeah.
That where you want to spend your time.
Yeah. Well, I know I'm very personally comfortable with Facebook for sure, and Pinterest. I don't really I'm on Twitter and I'm on Instagram.
Yeah.
But they're kind of just there, and every once in a while I go, oh, I should tweet something because I think that's what I should do. So
If you think you should be doing it because you think you should be doing it, then you shouldn't be there.
Yeah, like I just don't.
So like for your arena, Twitter's not the place to be.
Yeah. Yeah. It just doesn't feel natural to me
No,
either.
it's
So
like your platform. You want more visuals.
yeah.
Right. So you've got Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, and LinkedIn because you're targeting the professional.
Yeah, I need to smarten up with LinkedIn for sure.
LinkedIn is
Yeah.
a really good one.
Yeah.
So that would be kind of cool if you could work with someone who does LinkedIn, because that way you're coming off as a professional as
Right.
well.
Yeah.
So now you've said a few times, like you want people to feel zen. What does that mean to you?
Zen is just at peace, okay, I guess. So it is, there's a term that I use sometimes, organized chaos. So
I love that
Yeah.
term. That probably describes me pretty well.
Well, you know what? We live it too.
Yeah.
We live it too. So you know what? On Pinterest, I'm going to talk about Pinterest just a little bit because Pinterest-worthy photos just aren't realistic, and so I don't use that as a gauge to go, you know what, if your place doesn't look like this, it's a failure.
Yeah.
Because it's just not, it's props, right? It's set up. But it's a great tool to use for inspiration. So you can pick and choose things from that to create your own system that works, right? And everybody is totally different. So whatever your day looks like and however your evening evolves, you need to say, okay, what's important to me? And let's try to make that possible when I open that front door at the end of the day, right? So again, it comes down to having that client consultation and that discussion up front to really understand what the priorities are for that person, what the end goals are, and what the overall vision is for that person. It's not, Zen could be yoga at the end of the evening for somebody, or for somebody else it could be having a beer on their patio, right? Without having to worry about the 10 piles of laundry or the gardening or whatever. Like, everybody is so different, right?
Well said. What are 5 tips you can share with everyone?
Well, for organizing? Or organizing?
Organizing?
Well, don't take yourself too seriously is one.
That's a good one, actually.
Yeah, and you know what? Progression is better than perfection is another one.
Yeah.
Because with Pinterest, again, I'm going to use that as another example, because we may look at these images and go, oh my goodness, how am I ever going to get to that level? Well, you don't have to get to that level at all. So you just have to start, break it into chunks. And again, go back to that organizing plan. And it's something that a professional can help you with. You're not really too sure, or Google, right? And because there's so many resources online that can help you or guide you through that process. And then put that down and then just start. Even if you spend 10 to 15 minutes a day organizing over a period of a month, you will be amazed with how that will transform spaces in your home. And it sounds really, really crazy because you're like, 15 minutes? Like, what can you do in 15 minutes? But if you stop, and I challenge you, maybe I'll put a challenge out there.
You should.
Right? Today, put aside 15 minutes and grab, say, a junk drawer, or your sock drawer, your panties drawer, something, a drawer, your cutlery drawer. take it all out, dump it out, and sort it, and then throw out anything that doesn't work. Just set a timer, 15 minutes, and go through that, and then just see the difference at the end.
You know, I've actually done this myself. I've put the 15-minute because a lot of times I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I've got so much to do.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
And honest to God, it helps. It's like amazing. It's like the best tool. So,
Yeah.
as Koralee has mentioned, there's that challenge. So we're going to put it out to all of our readers and our viewers. And we'd love to hear how it's going below. So comment below.
Yeah,
and we'll
for sure.
take us.
Yeah.
Any other tips that you have?
Do not buy any organizational tools. And what I mean by that is any pretty bins, baskets, bags, closet systems, hanging, whatever, until you've gone through what I call, and others as well, the sort, purge, assign, and contain, right? So you need to go through a process first before you start buying more organizational systems. Because what you'll find is once you want to get rid of your stuff or minimize your things, declutter, and to analyze what you have left over before you go out and purchase something to contain it in. Because I've gone through this process before. You know, you find something on sale that's really pretty and like, oh, that'd be perfect for this. You get it home, you're like, it's not going to work because you either still have too much stuff or it doesn't fit in the space, and then your collection of organizational stuff is now collecting right in a corner in your garage or whatever. So that's another thing. Just be disciplined with yourself not to purchase anything extra until you go through the process of sorting and purging and just figuring out what you really have at the end of the day.
Do you have any DIY tips that you could possibly pass on?
Well, a big thing that I love doing is repurposing items, furniture pieces. So when I come into a home or when I'm looking at a space, I'm always watching out for different things that could be utilized for something different. So you can, as an example, I have a silver sugar bowl that I was in a storage, not storage, but, you know, in a cupboard, somebody sitting there for, you know, one of those days. And so I love the sugar bowl, but I wasn't using it for it at all. So I took it out and I used it to hold all of my paper clips in my office, right?
That's fun.
Yeah, and then I have a great big chest at home that was used to store blankets at one time, but now we don't, you know, purge all that. We streamlined all that stuff, and I've turned it into a really cool recycling station in the home. So I have like these bins in it. So one side is for returnables, and the other side is for all your paper and plastics and cans and stuff like that. So repurposing items is not only do you save money doing that, but you're not consuming additional stuff and bringing additional things into your home. So whenever you have the opportunity to do that, I definitely suggest.
I actually like that idea because, you know, like you said, like you're reusing and you're taking a lot of stuff out of the landfill, which then we then get to help our environment.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, we've got generations still to come. If we're not looking out for ourselves and generations to come, then what have we done?
I know, it's sad.
So I actually really like that idea of repurposing.
And it's fun because, you know what, it's a conversation topic.
Yeah.
You know, it's really cool when somebody comes in and they realize what the chest is. And everybody thinks it's just to sit on.
Yeah.
Now, but when I tell them, you know, open up the lid and see what's inside, they're like, whoa, you know, that's a really cool idea.
That's a cool idea.
Yeah, so I'm always looking for different things. And one time I used an extra buffet and hutch that somebody had. They had a perfect space in their ensuite bathroom, and they were limited to storage, but they weren't utilizing the hutch properly. So we transformed it into a unit to use in the bathroom.
Oh,
so
nice.
we reused baskets and other containers. Each family member had their own basket. So it was so easy at the end of the day to put everything back into the basket, up into the buffet, and it worked super well.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So there's lots of things that you can do, but you just have to have that eye, I guess, or the openness to see those things and the opportunity that something that is traditionally a table may have another purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
very
that's
cool,
fun.
and Pinterest also helps with that.
Absolutely.
Because they'll give you like all these amazing ideas
Yeah.
as to how to like repurpose something,
Yeah.
or like even if you were to simply paint it, it's completely
For sure.
completely
Yeah.
changed.
Yeah, there's different things that you can do to change the look of the piece. Paint is, one of the easiest things to do. It takes a bit of time, but you don't always have to do that either. Just get into place and start utilizing it, and then see if it works and functions properly for your family or for the space. And if it does, then if you want to glam it up a little bit, or change it around aesthetically, then you can do that at that time. Just don't take on more. Don't take on more. Make it a bigger project, I guess. Just start doing it, test it out, evaluate whether or not it's working properly or if it could work better, and then make those types of changes. Then go get the paint, and then, right? Or the hardware, or whatever. Once you're for sure know that you're going to be living with that in that location for a while. Yeah.
So how long would you say to try something on for?
You'll know relatively quickly whether or not it's going to be working. Because if it starts making you mad right away,
and want to run the other way,
yeah. But I would just, depending on your time, on your interest level, of course. Yeah. There's no rush in that. There really isn't any rush with that, unless you're going to be selling your house, or you have some sort of deadline coming up in place where you really want to show everything really well, right? For people that may be coming into your home during open houses or something like that, that's different. But if it's no urgency like that, then and if it's functioning properly, all the aesthetic stuff can just come when you have the time and energy to do that.
Yeah. So here's a question: who are you, and what makes you unique?
Who am I?
Yes.
Well, I am a mom of almost 2 grown girls, 19 and 17 almost.
And you don't look like it.
Oh, thank you. That's so sweet. But yeah, we've gone through a very busy lifestyle, still very busy, as I was telling you earlier this morning, constant schedule changes. Yeah. And this is one of the things that drives me nuts as a parent and a person, but it's going to happen, right? All the last minute things. And when it comes to organizing in your home or with your schedule, it just helps to eliminate some of the stress from those things that are out of your control. Right. So I've who am I and what was the last part?
And what makes you unique?
Oh, what makes me unique? I think for me, talking about the business side of things with organization, I've always been very spatially aware of my surroundings. And my girls probably laugh at that because I'm constantly telling them to be aware of their surroundings for different reasons. But for safety, for being courteous, being kind, somebody may need help, right? So there's a lot of things, or just like your inner space, right? Be aware of your surroundings. But on the spatial side, like I've always kind of had almost an instant relationship with space, if you want to, as weird as that may sound. So when I go in to either declutter or to rearrange and that kind of things, like I just kind of get where things should go for the flow. And like I said before, I'm not a feng shui specialist by any means, but I get and feel the energy in a room, and that's almost immediately. And that's also people too. So when I meet somebody for the first time, a client for the first time, I can really connect with that person, regardless. Like I may not even know who they are or know where they come from, their history or anything, but I can really work with a variety of people because I'm just in tune, I guess, with that.
So then, have you ever worked with realtors, when they're selling their homes, and you work with their clients to say, hey, this is a good fit for you, or have you done that?
That is definitely, as I roll into this as more of a business, or as a business, definitely that is a niche where I want to focus on, because I see a huge value there, not only for the realtors themselves, but for the clients as well. Because when your home shows better and feels better, the energy, like we all know when we walk into a certain room, you get a sense of the energy, right? Yeah. You come into something that makes you really uncomfortable, and you know that you feel that, you sense that right away. Yeah. Right? So when you're selling your home, you want to try to make it as easy and welcoming as possible for people coming into your home. You don't want them to assume anything negative as they're walking through your space. So take all of that away and make it so that they can visualize themselves living there right from the time that they pull up to the front of your house, right from the curb, right from the time they're rolling up, and parking in your driveway and walking through that door. Like, first impressions are so important.
So they say don't judge a book by its cover. Is that true here?
No.
Do you judge a book by its cover then?
But when it comes, like for me, like if I'm buying a house, right, I want it to be perfect, right, up to a certain extent. Like I don't want to be worrying about, like, if something is completely disorganized and torn down and rugged on the outside, I have a first impression already. Like if they don't care about what people think, right, when they're trying to sell their home, already I have a negative impression. Yeah. Because I'm thinking, okay, if they haven't taken care of this clutter in their front porch, for example, what other things behind closed doors haven't they taken care of? Yeah. So you're just already going in looking for all the negatives. So when you take that away, make it welcoming right off the bat, people won't be looking for the flaws, right? They'll be looking at, oh my goodness, so-and-so's room, will go here because it's a perfect room for him or her, right? Our piece of furniture would go perfect here. So you need to make that visually pleasing for people so that they can just make that transition. And then on top of it too, when those question marks aren't there, then the dollar marks aren't going away either. Yeah. Right? So when you make it easy for people to come through and feel at ease and at home, then you know that you will get higher selling price, right? Or you should, right? Versus the other way around.
Cool. Yeah. So who is your ideal client? Who do you want to be working with?
Well, again, it's so busy families and professionals for sure, because they're completely overwhelmed. But I will be partnering with realtors and working with them to put together individual programs that will cater to their niche marketplace. Yeah, so I've already talked to several realtors, and they have different ideas of how they want to approach or help their clients. So I'm willing to put together a program that fits how they want to bring value to their client base, right? So again, it goes back to the organizational plan that I do with people. It's not cookie cutter. It's different. Yeah. So when I'm working with realtors or other professions in that regards, it's we'll sit down and we'll assess what works best or how they want to bring that value add to their client base, and then we'll figure it out. Put together something that brings value to them, but more importantly, the end customer.
That sounds very exciting.
Yeah, so it's fun.
Yeah. So now, what would you tell your younger self? If you could go back, what would you tell her?
I would probably say to put together systems that work to free up more time. I know that's hard because with every transition in life, right? So we're growing up and it's just like me. You're just trying to figure out where you want to go in life, and then you get into the marriage and the kids' life, and then your kids are grown up, and then it's just you, but then you take care of your parents. So every decade has a new transition or new challenge in that regards, right? And I would just say, focus on the now, try to simplify, don't get overwhelmed by all the business that is going around and all the distractions that are happening. Really, really focus and stay focused on what is true and important to you. And I think overall, for the most part, me and my husband have lived that. We have really prioritized ourselves around our kids and our family, and made that a priority, like Team Pearson. Yay! That's right. As sappy as that may sound, but I think it's really important to identify what your priorities are, no matter what those are, and then just say, yeah, you know what, that's how I want to live my life, and then create systems and habits, I guess, around that to just accentuate that.
Perfect. So how do you incorporate technology into your business?
Well, technology is a wonderful tool, and it also can be overwhelming. But one thing that I do, not only in-person consultations and working directly with people, you know, body to body, is online.
Okay.
Because for a variety of reasons, but that is one like a huge opportunity for people if they're not in contact with a professional organizer in their area or region, or for whatever personal reason don't want to work in person in their home with somebody. It offers them an option, right? So they're not alone, and they have some resource out there to help them get to where they want to be. So and that really helps with all the coaching and the follow-up and everything else. So I can really create a full solution for that person depending on their comfort level, for sure. And then incorporating technology as a huge communication tool, right from the very, very beginning, from planning purposes to tracking to keeping people, you know, progressing ahead, like all of that stuff.
Perfect. What value do you bring to the table to the real estate market?
As we were just talking about earlier, I think, you know, being a true partner with them and having the flexibility to create programs or ideas or tools, resources, whatever it may be, that will help make their job easier at the end of the day, right? And that will ultimately help the end user when they're selling or buying. Or mostly selling, I guess, is where decluttering an organization comes into hand. But yeah, being a true partner with them and helping them in that regards.
Excellent. So is there anything else that you would like to share with our viewers before?
Just don't be scared to reach out for help, because right, because a lot of people feel, and I know I fall into this, and you know, part of our business group as well, people sometimes feel all alone regardless of where you are in life, right? But it's amazing when you talk to other people, you're just like, oh, you know what, I'm not alone. Each of us has similar struggles. Maybe different, but they're very similar. And you can learn so much from others. And just know that you're not alone. I actually have that in the back of my business cards. You are not alone. And you're truly not. And you don't have to feel overwhelmed or confused or anxious or angry when it comes to clutter in your home. You just, and I know that it is frustrating and exhausting when you come home and you see these piles everywhere or whatever the clutter situation may be. But just envision how it would feel if you got all that in order and how much that would give back to you, right? De-stressing, your time, you know, all that stuff comes back to money as well, right? So yeah, just, you're not alone. Reach out. There's so many resources out there, and talk to people, and just start. Just start.
So now that you said just start, so we're again putting the challenge out.
Yes.
For the next 7 days, set aside 15 minutes, and you know, take one area of your house and declutter it, and let us know how it's
gone. Sure. Yeah. Pick one room. Just pick one room, and then just start breaking it down in 15 minutes chunks a day. Yeah.
And also, what are your handles? How can people get hold of you?
Well, I'm on Pinterest and Facebook is probably the biggest ones for me right now. And I'm at Organized Inspiration.
Okay.
I think both of them are actually. Yeah, on Facebook and Pinterest.
And what's your website?
It's organizedinspiration.com.
Perfect. Well, thank you. And if you have any other questions, please write them in the comment below. And we look forward to hearing with you.
Yeah,
thank you, Koralee, for your time. It was a pleasure getting to know you.
So much fun.
Yes. And that's a wrap.